Choco is thought to be one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Strange species found nowhere else compete in the shadow of the Andes. Whilst in the tangled jungles below, life falls from the canopy. Bathed by both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, its pristine shores and tropical islands hide secrets both above and below their turbulent waters. What has allowed the Choco to act as a playground of evolution for so many species? And what is there left to discover in Colombia's wild coast? During the late Cretaceous, the Andes Mountains were born. Thrusting upwards, they isolated a portion of the prehistoric Amazon, creating a haven for evolution. This region of cut-off jungle became the Choco. In this thin strip of land between the Pacific Ocean and the western Andes Mountains, a labyrinth of habitats endures. Unbroken and unexplored for hundreds of kilometers. Down the Andean slopes into lowland forests. Through twisted mangroves and out to rolling oceans. A vast abundance of life thrives, all thanks to one thing: water. This is the wettest place on Earth. Here, rainfall is measured in meters, on average, over 13 every year. The result of all this rain is an exuberant tropical rainforest known as the Choco. In the northern Caribbean Choco, troops of cotton-top tamarins move through the treetops. Critically endangered, they are found only in Colombia. Led by a dominant female, they spend most of their time on the move. She leads them almost 2 kilometers a day in search of fruit and insects. And it's no surprise why. The troop has to provide for their newest member. Cotton-tops give birth to twins 80% of the time. This only child is special. Working together, males compete to carry her wherever she needs to go, only passing her to her mother to suckle. Doted on by the troop, she has been completely dependent on them until now. In the last 8 weeks, she has tripled in weight to 1/3 of that of her chaperones. The males can lose up to 10% of their body weight carrying this precious payload, the equivalent of a man carrying a 9-year-old wherever he goes. This weary father needs a break. Enough is enough. But his not-so-subtle hints are ignored, and more drastic measures must be taken. Clumsy, her first leaps and bounds aren't as graceful as her parents. But over the next 6 weeks, she will be encouraged to spend less and less time on the adults' backs until she is fully independent. Practice makes perfect, but it also builds a huge appetite. After such a big day, her parents aren't ready to give up their bond quite yet. The northern Colombian Choco is the only place in South America to have both a Pacific and Atlantic coast. While the troop group together to raise their young, a very different mother arrives to take advantage of the Choco's gentle Caribbean beaches. A leatherback turtle, the largest turtle on Earth. The rains have heralded her arrival. Drawn from feeding grounds thousands of kilometers away, she has traveled for months to nest on these beaches, where she hatched. As she leaves the water, her body, weighing almost a ton and perfectly adapted for life in the ocean, becomes unwieldy. Her prehistoric form has remained largely unchanged for over 100 million years. Leatherbacks are almost twice as old as the Andes themselves. Without water to take her weight, each lurch is a Goliath effort. She must drag herself past the high tide mark to lay safely. Excavating the deepest chamber of all marine turtles, her giant flippers become shovels. Heaving, each ragged breath is labored. She will lay up to 100 eggs. 30% of these will be yolkless, fragile, and much smaller than the others. They will provide space for the turtles to emerge into when they hatch. One of the last acts of care before she leaves forever. Once she has deposited her clutch, she covers the eggs. This whole ordeal can last up to 2 hours. Exhausted, she returns to the ocean. These young will incubate for up to 60 days. It is one of the most important nesting sites on the planet. But the night is still young. Deeper in the jungle, a very different reproductive strategy takes place. As the last drips drop from the treetops, male gliding leaf frogs parachute from the canopy. Spreading wide, they drag their large webbed feet through the air. Slowing their fall, they race to take advantage of the temporary pools of water below. marathon becomes a sprint. It is the most energy-efficient way to travel through the trees. Though landings can still be tough. As more and more males arrive, they begin to call en masse, signaling to one another their presence. Soon, the larger females follow in search of a mate. Outnumbered, they are buried under the advances of the eager suitors. Gripping onto the female's back, a position known as amplexus, this male has hit his mark. He clings to her like his life depends on it, though that doesn't stop the other's amorous intentions. Here, humidity can reach 100% almost every day. In such wet conditions, there is no need to take the leap to the pools below. Instead, they spawn on the smooth leaves, suspended up to 8 meters above the water.
And now it's time for lunch. Yes, a la carte or brunch. It's time for us to lunch.
Chicken salad,
Made with lots of mayonnaise.
mystery meat that's
Covered up with hollandaise, pizza,
tacos and filet of sole.
Chateaubriand.
or maybe sandwiches on pumpernickel. Garnished with a kosher pickle. Yes, it's time for lunch.
Meniu salbatic.
Premiera 8 iunie pe Nat Geo Wild.
Regele Valsului, Andrei Rieu, împreună cu mai mult de 100 de artiști, te invită să petreci o seară magică înconjurată de romantism. 5-14 iunie, în Piața Constituției. Biletele sunt disponibile pe eventim.ro.
Când suferi cât pentru toți la un loc. Cu o combinație specială de substanțe, Fasconal combate eficient durerea de cap. Fasconal pune capac durerii de cap.
Strângi gașcă, strângi beneficii. Prieteni, premii, distracție și cea mai bună ofertă la cartelă. Descarcă-ți acum aplicația You by Vodafone.
Același hotel, aceeași piscină, dar două prețuri diferite. De ce să plătiți mai mult? Verificați cu Trivago. Trivago găsește mereu cel mai avantajos preț pentru mai mult de 700.000 de hoteluri, comparând peste 150 de site-uri diferite. Pur și simplu vă alegeți hotelul ideal și Trivago vă arată unde să rezervați la cel mai bun preț. Hotel Trivago.
Protected in their gelatinous pockets from the predators in the pond below, they begin to change. What began as a small white ball soon becomes a wriggling mass. Burning fuel from the attached egg sac, they enter the most rapid period of growth in their lives. As their systems become more complex, exterior gills develop. Extending them, the tadpoles rotate to ensure they are as close to the surface as possible. In such claustrophobic conditions, these temporary structures absorb oxygen to maintain their growing forms. They begin to move more and more, gathering their strength. Exploding out of the egg, they slide and leap over their relatives to get to the pool of water below. A small leaf seems like a gauntlet to a tadpole less than a centimetre long. But like its father before it, it takes a leap into the great unknown. Falling 8 meters, the equivalent of a person jumping from just under 10 times the height of the Empire State Building. The Andes promote this wet environment. When they began to rise 65 million years ago, they changed the skies, forcing 3 jet streams to collide. Sweeping in from the Pacific, they merge. Fed by the forest, they become hot and heavy with moisture. Reaching the cloud forests of the western Andes, these aerial rivers rise, colliding violently with colder trade winds. Frequent, unforgiving thunderstorms batter the landscape almost every day. Shrouded in mist, these are the wettest forests on Earth. Over 23 meters of rain has been recorded to fall in a year. Brilliant colors flit and complex calls echo through the trees. Colombia has more types of bird than any other country in the world. Over 1,800, nearly 20% of the world's species in less than 1% of its area. Mannequins are the show-offs of the rainforest. They dance, sing, and clap to capture a female's attention. Males congregate in loose legs and prepare to attract a mate. Carefully selecting clear and well-lit branches, high-frequency chirps echo through the forest. And while singing is commonplace for most birds, these mannequins are the only species known to do so with their wings. Vibrating them over 100 times per second, twice as fast as a hummingbird's. They compete with males up to 25 meters away. It's a shouting match, and they're surrounded on all sides. To survive such a battering, his wings have had to adapt. Once hollow bones have become solid, whilst feathers have developed special ribs to produce violin-like vibrations. And while the cloud-shrouded mountains of the Choco have allowed an untold diversity of birds to evolve, this water world allows one group to thrive more than any other. Orchids. It is thought that Colombia is home to over 5,000 species, almost a fifth of all orchids on Earth. Breathtaking, they bloom in a myriad of forms, colors, and settings. Orchids grow bigger and more extravagant as the temperature increases. The Coryanthus or bucket orchid has found its own island, forming a special relationship with the ant nests that hang from the canopy. Tended to by thousands of workers, its roots provide the nest with a framework on which to grow. And in return, these gardeners protect the orchid fervently from predators and provide it with nutrients from the food they collect. These ant gardens are the only environment on which it can flourish and bloom. Flowering for only 2 to 3 days of the year, there is little time to waste. Wafting its scent through the air, the tailor-made fragrance floats on the breeze. Gathering from a variety of sources, from orchids and fungi to rotting wood and leaf litter, male orchid bees can travel up to 50 kilometers in search of these aromas, concocting them into a perfume to attract a female. The bucket orchid is irresistible. A prized fragrance for the male to add to his collection. As more and more males approach, airspace becomes crowded. And this orchid has a hidden agenda. Drops fall from its twin pluridia, water-producing organs unique to these orchids. The bees stray closer and closer, hypnotized by the scent. Until they are caught in the flower's deceitful trap. Smooth, waxy walls give no purchase, and soapy water clings to his wings, causing them to become useless. Imprisoned in the bucket, the unwilling bee has only one escape. Struggling through the narrow, slippery tunnel, it passes under the orchid's reproductive organs, where it becomes stuck. Only specific species of orchid bee can pollinate this flower. Too large, and they cannot escape. Too small, and they pass through too easily. But this one is just right. A pollen sac becomes glued to its back. Drying his wings, the ordeal is finally over. He is so traumatized that he will not approach this flower again, preventing self-pollination. Instead, he unwillingly transports his payload to a new orchid in another part of the forest.
Știri de senzație! Biologii au descoperit cele mai sensibile tălpi. Să vedeți de ce pisica are 9 vieți. Un crevete revoluționează materialele compozite. Pare imposibil sau incredibil? În lumea lor se poate.
That's astounding for any animal to be able to do that.
Animale grozave. Premiera 18 iunie pe Net Geo Wild.
Suferi și tu când îl doare pe el. Suferi și tu când îi doare pe fiecare în parte. Ești una cu cei dragi, de aceea când suferi, suferi cât pentru toți la un loc. Cu o combinație specială de substanțe, Fasconal combate eficient durerea de cap pentru ca tu să poți avea grijă de cei dragi. Fasconal pune capac durerii de cap.
Acesta este un medicament. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Hotelscan.ro găsește hotelul perfect pentru tine. E foarte simplu. Tastează destinația și alegeți preferințele. Hotelscan compară ofertele de la peste 600.000 de hoteluri și 100 de website-uri. Apoi îți arată toate ofertele de preț pentru exact aceeași cameră. Astfel îți poți găsi camera perfectă la cel mai mic preț din lume cu Hotelscan.ro.
Lucrurile pe care ți le-ai dorit trebuie să fie o bucurie, nu o povară. Află cu cât îți poți reduce ratele și vino cu creditele tale la BCR. Transformă o viață agitată într-o viață bogată cu cea mai bună ofertă de refinanțare. BCR. Mai bine, pentru că putem.
Eu sunt capul familiei, dar când mă joc cu fimea sunt ninja. Iar în drum spre birou sunt șofer, mai puțin când mă trezesc târziu. Atunci sunt pilot de curse. În weekenduri sunt mega campion la ping-pong. Când câștig sunt rockstar. Iar când pierd sunt omul invizibil. Dar când îi pregătești cina, sunt actorul ăla din comediile romantice care îi plac ei. Așa sunt eu, sunt o mulțime de oameni diferiți. Dar fiecare eu își găsește inspirația în același loc. Eu sunt Mega. Pentru bucătarul din tine, acum e la Mega Image Caroli. Cremburgi cu piept de pui la doar 7,44 lei.
Același hotel. Aceeași piscină. Dar două prețuri diferite. De ce să plătiți mai mult? Verificați cu Trivago. Trivago găsește mereu cel mai avantajos preț pentru mai mult de 700.000 de hoteluri, comparând peste 150 de site-uri diferite. Pur și simplu vă alegeți hotelul ideal și Trivago vă arată unde să rezervați la cel mai bun preț. Hotel Trivago.
Streams soon give way to powerful whitewater rivers, cutting through the impenetrable forest. They act as paths to the jungle's inhabitants. Jaguars are the largest cats in the Americas and pound for pound, the most powerful on Earth. To the jaguar, the Choco's rivers are not only highways, but also obstacles to overcome. And the promise of a mate, or its next meal, makes crossing these winding waterways worthwhile. But another predator is on the prowl. Stealthily, he stalks the forest in search of prey. Jaguars are too dangerous to be on the menu. But what he is looking for is just as lethal. The high humidity of this tropical rainforest makes it a paradise for amphibians. Endemic to a few isolated regions of the Colombian Choco, golden dart frogs hop through the leaf litter in search of their next meal. Brightly coloured, they stand tall amongst the leaves. This male has little to fear from predators. His bright yellow skin acts as a beacon, warning them to stay away. And with good reason. Golden dart frogs are the most poisonous vertebrate on Earth. His ravenous appetite is what allows him to survive. Extracting chemicals from his environment, he builds up a lethal dose. Scientists believe that ants may be the source of the terrible toxin. Seeping from microscopic pores, each frog contains around 1 milligram of the potent poison known as batrachotoxins. But some still take the risk. To the Embera and Wunan tribes of the Colombian Choco, this toxicity is a resource. For centuries, they have harvested the toxin to tip their darts, giving poison dart frogs their name. One false move could end in convulsions, paralysis, and death. There is no known antidote. While the other two species used by the indigenous tribe die in the process of poison extraction, the golden dart frog is so virulent that the dart only needs to touch its back to turn into a lethal weapon. Each frog will be used for 2 to 3 darts before it is released. Once dry, he stores the darts in his quiver. They can remain lethal for up to 2 years if unused. But he has other plans. He must hunt to feed his family. An experienced hunter can strike down prey high in the canopy, over 30 meters away. Whilst one life ends, another is reborn. A chrysalis, containing one of the world's most spectacular creatures, a blue morpho. On the outside, it appears inactive, camouflaged in the undergrowth. But on the inside, a biological miracle has occurred. Metamorphosis. Enzymes released inside have digested the once caterpillar until nothing remained. Even the heart and nervous system cease to exist. And from nothing, it has spent the last 20 days transforming, rebuilding, preparing to emerge. A tight fit for one of the largest butterflies in the world. But it can't take flight just yet. This is its most vulnerable period. Pumping blood into its crumpled wings, its true beauty becomes apparent. Owl eyes on their undersides protect it from predators, while blue iridescent surfaces allow it to attract mates during its fanciful flights. The whole process can take over an hour. Taking to the air for the first time, it fulfills its destiny. Flitting into the forest in search of food. Male morphos patrol the streams that crisscross the forest floor in search of a mate. It has just 2 weeks to mate before its life cycle is complete, and the circle begins again.
Ce să mai zic? M-am pierdut cu firea.
Am văzut roșu în fața ochilor, na ce vrei.
Poți și eu odată, botul.
Hei, băieți, ce faceți? Filmați pe ascuns?
Să vedeți ce se întâmplă când sălbăticiunile uită bunele maniere. De la simpli cetățeni turbulenți la răufăcători în toată regula. Sezon nou. Când animalele o iau razna. În fiecare miercuri la 7 pe Nat Geo Wild.
Suferi și tu când îl doare pe el. Suferi și tu când îi doare pe fiecare în parte. Ești una cu cei dragi, de aceea când suferi cât pentru toți la un loc. Cu o combinație specială de substanțe, Fasconal combate eficient durerea de cap pentru ca tu să poți avea grijă de cei dragi. Fasconal pune capac durerii de cap.
Acesta este un medicament. Citiți cu atenție prospectul. Alege un stil de viață sănătos cu Philips și Cel.ro. Acum ai reduceri de până la 40% la grătarele electrice, storcătoarele și aparatele de gătit cu abur din promoție. Profită acum de cele mai bune oferte. Cel.ro. Bucură-te de cel mai cel preț.
Sunt mini-croissantul 7 Days și urmez cafeaua peste tot. Întâlnesc cafeaua în multe locuri diferite, în orice moment. Câteodată merg cu mașina, dar tot mai am multe de văzut. Acolo unde îți vei bea următoarea cafea.
7 Days Mini Croissant, cel mai bun prieten al cafelei.
Vă prezentăm Pedispin de la GML, aparatul de pedicură electric creat de inventatorii minunatului produs Pet Egg. Capul rotativ are 2 viteze. Folosiți viteza scăzută pentru pielea uscată și aspră, iar viteza mărită pentru bătături. În plus, dispozitivul dispune de un compartiment de depozitare al resturilor care este ușor de golit și curățat. Folosiți pilele pentru netezire și redați călcâielor aspectul neted și catifelat. Bucurați-vă de un look minunat cu Pedispin de la GML. Disponibil în magazinele afișate.
Ai grijă la iritațiile pielii. Nu lăsa pielea bărbierită să te irite. Încearcă noul Nivea Men Sensitive Balsam Aftershave cu 0% alcool, împotriva usturimii, mâncărimii și roșeții pielii. Nivea Men. Totul începe cu tine. Pentru a calma și răcori pielea iritată după bărbierit, încearcă și noua gamă Nivea Men Sensitive Cooling.
Noul Hyundai i20. Performant, spațios eficient. Lasă-te condus de inspirație. Preț începând de la 9.090 euro, TVA inclus.
Hotelscan.ro găsește hotelul perfect pentru tine. E foarte simplu. Tastează destinația și alegeți preferințele. Hotelscan compară ofertele de la peste 600.000 de hoteluri și 100 de website-uri. Apoi îți arată toate ofertele de preț pentru exact aceeași cameră. Astfel îți poți găsi camera perfectă la cel mai mic preț din lume cu Hotelscan.ro.
Acum la Herbie Sports cumperi oricare 2 articole de îmbrăcăminte și le primești gratis pe cel de-al 3-lea. Doar între 4 și 7 iunie.
Get moving, Herbie Sports.
Îți place să câștigi premii? Cumpără produse Bucegi, înscrie codul prin SMS sau pe patebucegi.ro și poți câștiga premii pe oră sau chiar marele premiu.
Îți place, știu că îți place.
Vedem un genunchi perfect. Ce nu observăm este operația inovatoare pentru implant de menisc artificial. Munca unui medic bun nu lasă urme. Regina Maria, cei mai buni medici.
Eu sunt capul familiei, dar când mă joc cu fimea sunt ninja. Iar în drum spre birou sunt șofer, mai puțin când mă trezesc târziu. Atunci sunt pilot de curse. În weekenduri sunt mega campion la ping-pong. Când câștig sunt rockstar. Iar când pierd sunt omul invizibil. Dar când îi pregătești cina, sunt actorul ăla din comediile romantice care îi plac ei. Așa sunt eu, sunt o mulțime de oameni diferiți. Dar fiecare eu își găsește inspirația în același loc. Eu sunt Mega. Pentru bucătarul din tine, acum ai la Mega Image Cristim, cârnați semi-afumați la doar 11,19 lei.
As the large rivers continue towards the Pacific Ocean, the lowland forests begin to transform. Fresh water becomes brackish, and aerial roots rise from the river's muddy shores. These are the Pacific mangroves of Colombia, part of the most important and pristine mangrove in the world. Over 2 years mangroves are found on its Pacific coast, and 20% of these call Santiago National Park home. These are amongst the tallest mangroves on Earth. Like trees can reach over 50 meters and stretch to 3 meters in circumference. To support such towering structures, their vaulted arches sprawl outwards, creating dense, impassable tangles. Providing safe haven for the next generation of sea life, they act as the nurseries of the Eastern Pacific. Humpback whales arrive every year to the Chocos coast. Traveling here from rich feeding grounds in the Antarctic Peninsula, they complete the longest mammal migration on the planet. In 30 days, on 1,000 kilometers, they come to give birth in the mangroves, sheltered coves and bays. A mother and her newly born calf. Bringing her to the leeward side of Gorgona Island, 35 kilometers off the coast. She protects her from the Pacific's strong currents. calf has just a couple of months to grow big and strong before the arduous return journey to Antarctica. Her mother will make this journey every 2 to 3 years to give birth. In her lifetime, she could have up to 15 calves. While the tranquil waters that surround Gorgona provide safe harbor to these gentle giants, the island itself hides a dark past. Francisco Pizarro, a Spanish explorer horrified by the countless snakes that slithered through the island's forests, named it after the Gorgons, serpent-haired monsters of Greek mythology. This abundance of reptiles caused the island to be put to sinister use. Known as Colombia's Alcatraz, Gorgona acted as a high-security prison until 1984. Fearing the venomous snakes and shark-infested waters, prisoners chose to remain within the secure walls. Only one ever escaped alive. For 20 years, the prison population devastated the island, burning the forests for fuel. Now a national park, the ruins of the prison have been reclaimed by the jungle the inmates once destroyed. And where men sat chained, monkeys run free. Led by a dominant male, white-fronted capuchins once walked. He calls the shots, for now. Living in groups of up to 20 individuals, life inside the prison walls can be complicated. Capuchins have larger brains for their size than any other primate. And with such active minds come lofty aspirations. Their lives revolve around status. Fights break out frequently and can have deadly consequences. Capuchins kill more of their own kind than any other predator. But while these Machiavellian monkeys struggle for power, fighting plays a very different role in the younger generation. Aping their elders prepares them for their future. Play is essential for the youngsters, developing social skills and coordination. Exaggerated leaps and rolls warn this is just for fun. Worn out from all the rough and tumble, rest becomes the priority. When introduced to Gorgona's shores over 5 centuries ago, capuchins took full advantage of the bounty it had to offer. Chasing the native bird colonies to the hundreds and thousands of rocky islands and islets that stretch along the Chacoan coast. But of all of these, one island in particular is home to one of the Earth's greatest spectacles. 500 kilometers off the coast of Pacific Columbia, Mount Pello is one of the few landmarks in the eastern tropical Pacific. A vast underwater mountain piercing the endless ocean. Isolated and barren on the surface, it lacks the verdant jungles of Gorgona. But below the surface, a secret world endures. Here, 4 currents converge. Cold, deep waters collide with the sheer cliffs of the Malpelo seamount, causing them to swell up from the depths. With the arrival of this nutrient-rich bounty comes life in abundance. A hotspot of biodiversity in the deep ocean. But when the currents are just right, one animal steals the show. Schools of endangered scalloped hammerheads congregate on the island every year. Hundreds have arrived to take advantage of a special service. Covered with wounds and infected battle scars, they've swum over 1,000 kilometers in search of a particular part of the reef. A cleaning station. Slowly, they circle for a service. Rainbow wrasse, barber, and clarionfish dart from their protective homes to inspect the willing participant. Removing rotting flesh and parasites from her skin, they give it a much-needed once-over. This is one fish she won't eat. Saving their hammerheads from life-threatening infections, the fish benefit from a meal brought straight to their door. From the open ocean to the Andes Mountains, life sweeps back to the Choco's wild coast on the wind. The very water that courses through the skies and down its countless rivers has driven this forest's mega diversity. An intricate network of habitats converges on Colombia's western coast. As a result, strange and unique animals found nowhere else have thrived. While others journey across vast oceans to reach its shores. And yet the Choco remains largely unexplored, with countless species still to be discovered under the canopy of this forgotten forest.
Undeva în Alabama, un cățel se joacă cu un ied până nu mai pot. O pisică și un cal se alintă. Ce mai dragoste! Un terier face baie la 2 hamster. E tocmai ce le trebuia. O pereche urmărește același program? Da, e perfect! Cum ar fi să-ți iei capra cu tine oriunde? Și încă nu-i știți pe Oscar și Rosie. Un sezon absolut cuceritor. Prietenii bizare. În fiecare joi la 7 pe Net Geo Wild.
Suferi și tu când îl doare pe el. Suferi și tu când îi doare pe fiecare în parte. Ești una cu cei dragi, de aceea când suferi, suferi cât pentru toți la un loc. Cu o combinație specială de substanțe, Fasconal combate eficient durerea de cap